The NFL draft is come and gone, and the speculation is over. Pittsburgh goes with QB Kenny Pickett, and the NHL playoffs are here. It is the Penguins. It is the New York Rangers. It's what I wanted. Am I right or am I an idiot? That and more today on Joe Talk Sports. Let's go.
Joe Talk Sports. Let's start the show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Joe Talk Sports, your favorite podcast for all things Steelers, Penguins, West Virginia, and whatever else I feel like talking about at the time, or whatever I'm into, UFC maybe sometimes. I don't know. If you're new here, welcome back, and we appreciate you. So go hit a like and let me know you've been here for a while. If you've been here, if you're new here, welcome. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I hope you enjoy the show. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff having to do with the Steelers and the Penguins today. We don't have much West Virginia to talk about, but that's all right. Stick around. Anyways, first, let's not waste any time. Let's get into the most important thing that happened this week. The NFL draft went down Thursday night. It was a good draft because it was like really quick moving, and they had that pace going up, at least in the first round. But the speculation's over, man. There was a lot of what are the Steelers going to do? Most people thought they were going to go quarterback. A lot of people wanted Kenny Pickett. A lot of people wanted Malik Willis. A lot of people said, nah, don't go quarterback. It's a bad draft for quarterback. They did go quarterback. They were the only team to take a quarterback in the first round of the draft, which is kind of worrisome, I think. And no other quarterbacks went till very late. I think the third round, maybe late second. I don't think till the third round. But they ended up going with Kenny Pickett from Pitt, which a lot of people were excited about. Pitt fans love him. A lot of Pitt fans, Steeler fans wanted him. I thought for sure they were going with Malik Willis, so I was completely wrong this year. 1 for 1 on my first round picks the past 2 years. But if you watch my initial reaction video, you can see that on TikTok or Instagram, or did I put on YouTube? I think I did. Go look. It might be there. If not, go on, follow us on other social media, which you should be doing anyways. And you see that my initial reaction to Kenny Pickett getting drafted. I was for sure thought they were going Malik Willis, and that's how I think they sold it. So if it was a smoke screen, if we just read the signals wrong, I don't know, but they seem to really like Malik, especially Mike Tomlin. But I guess Kenny Pickett was their guy, and they had their pick at the 20th spot of every quarterback in the draft they could have went with, and they went with Kenny Pickett. I don't know how I feel about that pick, man. I still feel like Kenny Pickett. I get a lot of Will Greer vibes being a West Virginia fan. A lot of West Virginia fans were like, man, Heisman candidate Will Greer is going to come to the NFL. He's going to ball out. Will Greer is going to be great. I knew he wasn't. And, I knew he's a good college quarterback, but I saw some red flags with his pocket awareness, a lot of bad judgment, his, he kind of collapsed in a lot of big games. So I didn't think he had it, and he didn't. And so I get a lot of those, Kenny Pickett. I don't know how big his upside is. And I think that's a lot of people's worry too. It's like, he's an older quarterback. He is what he's going to be right now. He's solid, but what's his upside and how far does that go? So, but I'm not a professional scout. I'm not a professional coach or GM. Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert are. And, a lot of people pointed out, they got to see him more than any other coach GM combo did because their building was right next door. So they got to see this guy's whole career and see him a lot. He was right next door the whole time. So obviously they saw something they liked. They liked it enough to go with him. And Kenny Pickett is a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he's going to be competing for the starting job with Mitch Trubisky and Mr. Rudolph. Maybe. So let me know what you guys think about Kenny Pickett. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he's the great and the next Ben Roethlisberger and leads us to another Super Bowl. And he's got the weapons to do so, it looks like, after this draft, which we'll keep going through. So let me know what you guys think of Kenny. I know Pittsburgh was really divided. Most of the Pitt fans were 100% Kenny Pickett. Some of the other fans were like, nah, I don't think so. There was a lot of Malik Willis fans. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But Kenny Pickett, number 1 overall for the Pittsburgh Steelers 2022. Welcome to the family, Kenny Pickett. Hopefully big things are coming for you, kid. Big things coming. Round 2, 52 overall. They went George Pickens, wide receiver from Georgia. This is a great pick. I love this pick. Everyone I've talked to and seen comment on it loves this pick. Basically, the consensus is this guy was a top 10 wide receiver, top 5. He could have been the first overall pick receiver, but supposedly he fell because he's had some maturity issues in the past and some behavioral issues. I haven't seen any examples or anyone list those behavioral issues that he's had. I've just seen people say it. And, apparently some NHL high NFL officials have said he's had these issues, but no one's given examples. I guess he was in a car wreck 2 weeks ago or something, and he didn't wear a seatbelt, and he cracked his head on this. Thankfully he's okay, but he cracked his head on the windshield. That's stupid, but I don't think that's a behavioral issue. I mean, you should always wear a seatbelt, kids. So do that. It's just dumb not to in 2022, even though growing up, sometimes our cars didn't even have seatbelts, which is crazy to think about. But that's stupid, but that's not a behavioral issue. Some other people pointed out his behavioral issue was he got in a fight in a game in college. It's football. I mean, to me, that's passion and emotion. I wouldn't call that behavioral issue. But from what I've seen from him, I like it, man. I've seen those block highlights. He knocks defensive players on their backside. He's a big guy. He's tall. He's tough. He's got the emotion we've seen in games. I think this is going to be a huge wide receiver pick for the Steelers. I think they got a steal getting him in the second round at 52. And it gives a weapon to Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett that was sorely needed because, as we talked about, the wide receiver room in Pittsburgh is very dry right now. You got Deontay, who's there and who probably not going to hold out, but he's looking for more money. You got Chase Claypool, and that's about all you had. So now you got a big-time wide receiver and Pickens that I think is going to be very, 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 very good for the Steelers. Round 3, they went number 84 overall, the Marvin Leal, Texas. Defensive lineman. This is a good depth piece. They needed this on the defensive line. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a starter, but this adds depth. And what's really all I got to say about this pick? I've seen some people say it was a steal. Other people had no opinion on it. So, I think it's a depth piece that Pittsburgh needed to put on that line. Round 4, this is another really exciting one. Number 138 overall, Calvin Austin, wide receiver from Memphis. This kid can freaking fly. He may be the new fastest player and the wide receiver more in Pittsburgh. He can fly. So this is another great upgrade. Again, the wide receiver room sorely needed revamped. So now I think you have an outside guy who can really burn defensive players, defensive backfield, and catch the ball. And Calvin Austin, you got Chase for the inside slot. You got Pickens, who's like a versatile guy. He can play inside. He can play outside. He's big. He's tough. He blocks. And then you got Deontay Johnson, who last year looked like he's on his way to maybe be a top receiver in the NFL if he can continue. So I think this is pretty exciting. Maybe the best receiver room. First off, you never know how these guys are going to pan out. So we'll have to wait and see. But on paper, this is the best wide receiver room we've had in Pittsburgh for a very, 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 very long time. Maybe since we had AB, Juju, Martavis. This is a good room, guys. So we'll see. I mean, with the new wide receiver core and then Freiermuth and Najee, you definitely feel like now that Trubisky or Kenny Pickett or whoever is going to have some weapons on offense, which is great. Number 6 or round 6, Pittsburgh takes Connor Hayward, Cameron Hayward's brother. This is a brother pick. I don't want to call it a wasted pick because it's cool that they got his brother, and Cameron Hayward's obviously one of the best Steelers of this generation. So it's nice to see it, bring it in, but did they really need another fullback? Tight end? I don't know. I guess it's depth. He'll play special teams. To me, I felt like you could have went something else with this position. I'm glad the Steelers, though, they're like an organization that really takes care of their players. You got the Watt brothers, Edmonds brothers. Now you got Hayward's brother there. It's cool. Like, not a lot of organizations would do that. So it's really nice. You got to respect the Steelers for that. But at the same time, it didn't really feel like we needed another fullback / tight end on the roster. So we'll see how that shakes out. Round 7, Mark Robinson, linebacker. Again, this adds some depth. He can play inside, outside. He's a very versatile player. Probably not going to be a starter, but it's depth that the Steelers needed, because last year we saw when those injuries started hitting, we didn't have a lot of depth and it really hurt. So more depth. Next round 7 pick. This one confused me too. QB Chris, I don't even know how to say his last name. Aladakun from Dakota State. Maybe the Steelers saw something in him, some potential. To me, this indicates that Mason Rudolph may be on his way out. I don't know why you would use another one of your picks on a quarterback when you have Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph in your room. Because I don't think, you're not going to keep 4 on the roster. So I don't know what you could have saw in this guy in the 7th round that you decided to use a pick on him, unless Mason is on his way out, which is confusing because, after Ben retired, Colbert told Mason he was going to have an opportunity at the starting job. And then obviously they brought in Trubisky and Kenny Pickett. So bringing in this guy feels a little odd to me. So I'm not sure if Mason's on his way out. Maybe there's a trade coming. And then you have Trubisky and Kenny Pickett as a 1 and 2. And then this guy is your 3rd. Confusing move. Or they see some potential that no one else saw in this guy. There's been quarterback. Tom Brady was like a 6th round pick, right? I don't think he's the next Tom Brady, but you never know. So they take this quarterback in the 7th round, and we'll see what happens when training camp comes. So overall, I feel like this draft was hit and miss. So I feel like the top picks were very good. We got some great wide receivers that I think are going to ball out next year. Kenny Pickett, who, I'm not so sure about, but I trust Colbert. I trust Tomlin. So all in all, I would say it was a pretty good draft by the Steelers. I think I would give it, if I had to grade it, a B+, B-. I would say an A because it started really good. You got your quarterback. You got some great wide receivers. You filled some depth positions. The end of the draft kind of confused me. So that's the only reason I would knock it down a couple notches. So let me know what you guys think. How did the Steelers do in the draft? But in other Steelers news coming very soon, the Pittsburgh Steelers not only will have a new franchise quarterback, but they will have a new GM for the first time in 20 years. Kevin Colbert is obviously stepping down. He did his press conference about the draft the other day, got emotional, got teary-eyed. We still don't know who the new GM is, but I would imagine we find out this week, right? Because he was waiting until after the draft to retire. And now that the draft is over, you would imagine that the new GM, and they would want the new GM to get it started as soon as possible, get ready before this coming season. So I would imagine this week they interviewed, I would say they interviewed 20, 30 people for this job. I'm not going to speculate on who it's going to be because I feel like as soon as I give a name, we're going to find out today, maybe later today, tomorrow. I think it would be soon, guys. I don't see the point in waiting since the draft is over much longer. So I would imagine the Steelers have a new GM by the end of the week or very, very soon. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know. It's exciting times. It's interesting times to be a Steelers fan. We've had so much consistency, and this is like an era of change now. This is like the beginning of the Ben Roethlisberger era when we had all that turnover. You had Bill Cowher leave, Big Ben come in, Tomlin come in. It feels like that time. So we'll see what happens next year, who the new GM is next year, this season, who the starting quarterback is. So that's another thing. You guys think it's going to be Trubisky or is it going to be Kenny Pickett? Let me know that. Even if Kenny Pickett is the next franchise quarterback, and if he's a baller, I still think you guys Trubisky this year, just because I know they think Kenny Pickett is game ready, and that's one of the reasons they went with him. But I don't think you bring Trubisky in for that contract to be a backup. Unless Kenny Pickett is day and night better in training camp, you go with the best guy, right? But I still think Trubisky's got it this year, unless there's a huge difference in their gameplay. So we'll see. We'll find out soon enough. Moving right along, the NHL playoffs start this week, and the Penguins start Tuesday against the New York Rangers, for better or worse. If you watched last week's podcast, I said out of Carolina, the Panthers, and the Rangers, I wanted the Rangers. I wanted the Rangers, even though Penguins have stunk against the Rangers this year. And my reasoning behind it was, even though they got a better record and better gameplay against the Panthers and Carolina, those teams have the experience, and those teams have been monsters for the past few years and trying to get in the playoffs. So I feel like this year, those teams aren't going to be one and out. They're going to make a run. The Rangers, they've had the Penguins number this year, but they're inexperienced. So I take them. Well, now we're going to find out. I got my poison. I picked it. So was I right or was I wrong? Is the inexperience going to be a huge factor in the first round? Or do New York teams still have the Penguins number? You know, the last few seasons have been the Rangers and the Islanders keeping the Pittsburgh Penguins out of the second round of the playoffs. So what do we got against the Rangers head to head? The Penguins finished the season series 1-3 against them. They won the first game against the Rangers 1-0. The other games, they did not look good. They got stomped in all three games. That's another thing. Out of every team in the league, the Penguins have played this year, I'm going to keep it in the Eastern Conference. Out of all the teams, out of Boston, Washington, the Islanders, the Devils, everyone they've played this year, they've won some games, they've lost some games, they've looked bad, but they've looked worse against the Rangers than any other team this season, I feel like. So that is something definitely, you know, it's worrisome too. But again, if you got a choice between the Rangers and Carolina or the Panthers, I'm going to take the inexperience of the Rangers, I think, every time. So that was where my head was on that. So I don't know how it's going to pan out. We're going to find out soon, though. Moving into round one, we're looking at the Rangers. You got Chris Kreider. That's their veteran guy. He's been there forever. You got Panarin, who's a veteran guy, and their big goal scorer. He's probably their best player. You got Lafreniere, who's really come on this year. I think this is his second or third year. I think he had like 19 or 20 goals this year. You got Capo, Adam Fox, who's really become one of the best defensemen in the league. And of course, you got Shesterkin, who's probably going to win the Vezina Trophy as the best goalie of the year. And he's been lights out, and he's played really well against the Penguins, even though he's a young guy. So I'm hoping in the playoffs his inexperience comes into play here. But speaking of Shesterkin, let's talk goalies, because the Penguins have announced that they're going to be without Jari at least the first two games of the playoffs, at least. So DeSmith is going game one Tuesday night. He's going game two unless something terrible happens and Domingue gets put in. But that could be a big factor. You don't have your main goalie. But DeSmith, I'm going to say, has been really good these past few games. Like, he's been lights out. Even though the Penguins haven't played well some of those games, DeSmith has been really, really solid. So going into the playoffs, I don't feel too bad about not having Jari. So, and DeSmith is a veteran guy. He's been in the league a long time. It's not like he's a young guy and an inexperienced backup. He's been with the Penguins for several years in the playoffs, even though if he hasn't played. So I don't know. I don't feel horrible about this. And I still think the Penguins win this series. They've been bad this past month. They've struggled on defense. The power play has been horrible. But I think they get it together. In that final game against Columbus, Malkin was lights out. If we get that Gino in the playoffs, come on, guys. Crosby has struggled lately. I think he's had like a 7-game point drought or something like that, maybe longer. So hopefully he can get it together. That first line, Malkin looks like he did in Columbus, and the defense can step up and hold it together. DeSmith plays good, we'll win the series. There's a lot of ifs, of course. If everyone plays good, we'll win the series. Duh. But I think we got it this year. I don't think it's another 1 and out. I would be shocked. But I said that last year, and I was completely shocked at that series. So who knows? But if I had to guess, and I'm not going to take the safe bet of saying 6 games, I'm going to go Pens in 5. I think the Pens, even though they've struggled against the Rangers, I think they're going to come in and shock people in round 1 here. So I'm going to say Pens in 5. Yes. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. What do you think? I know a lot of you, we did a poll on, if you're not following on our other social medias, J Talk Sports, you need to be. We did polls on Instagram and Twitter about who you wanted to see the Penguins play out of Carolina Panthers and the Rangers. And the majority of you picked the Panthers on Instagram and Twitter. I was surprised. I can see that. But the Panthers and Penguins played good against them this year, but they're really good this year. A couple of you said Bob has struggled in big games, and I agree with that. He has disappeared in big games, especially in the postseason. So that could be a factor if you're playing the Panthers. But I don't know, man. They've been knocking on the door for the past few years, and I think this year they got to get through, right? So I'd be scared of them. They look legit, but I don't know. I'm gonna say Pens in 5. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. And I think that's going to do it for today, guys. We don't got any West Virginia news to talk about. JT Daniels is Mountaineer. He's still a Mountaineer. Drop JT Daniels in the comment. Is there anything else I can mention? I guess anything else worth mentioning? Pitt lost some big players or a big player to another team. And now everyone's outraged over Nhl and talking about how he was sniped. I guess he got a huge deal or something like that. We've been knowing that at West Virginia, though, right? We've been getting players sniped all off season. Some very shady stuff going on where some players said they were talked about loyalty and fully committed to West Virginia. And a week later, they entered the transfer portal. And then a few days later, they're magically all of a sudden in a new university. And yeah, we've been knowing that. And it's a problem in college football. And I don't know. It's new, so I don't know how they're going to address this, right? It's not like it's been. You're going to have to, and here's the thing too. I was actually thinking about this the other day. So say you want to put restrictions on. Does it work going forward? Because now you're running the issue where some of these players are getting these huge deals, and then a couple months later, you're going to put restrictions on deals. Do they lose money? Do they get to keep that moving forward? It's just a whole thing, but you have to have some kind of restrictions because there's too much money. And, I want the players to get the money, but it's just ridiculous. And players are being bought. And this isn't the NFL. It's not professionals. It's college. These are college kids, and they're being bought and paid for right now. And there's tampering going on, and it's so obvious. It's not even like, is it going on? Is it not going on? It probably is. No, it's obvious, guys. Like, you can't even hide it. With the Pitt deal, it's so obvious. Like, and then, these players are entering the transfer portal and they're going to new teams a day later and announcing their huge deal that they just signed. It's obvious there's tampering going on. And it's crazy that no one's even in, none of the officials, no one in the NCAA, the Big 12, the SEC, no one is saying anything about it. It's just hush hush right now. So it's the Wild West. And that's what we said, I think, last year on the podcast when this was first announced that it was going through with NIL. We said it was going to be the Wild West, and it's going to be like this for a few years until they do something about it. So let me know what you guys think of the comment. JT Daniels is a Mountaineer still, and I'm excited for that. I can't wait to talk more Mountaineers in the coming months. Kenny Pickett is a Pittsburgh Steeler. Is he going to be the starting quarterback, or is Mitch Trubisky? Let me know down in the comments. And we got the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Rangers Tuesday. So I'll see you guys for that. And next week, let me look real quick. Next week, we will be a few games into the series, but let me see how many. Could the Penguins be gone by next? They're not going to be gone. They're going to win in 5, Joe. Don't say that. No. So we'll have 3 games before our next podcast on Monday. So we're going to have a very good handle on what's happening in this series by then. Positive, negative, even. We're going to know by next show, next Monday, what's happening in this series and how it's looking. So tune in for that, and I will see you guys next time on Joe Talk Sports. Let's go.